Welcome back. Now, the name Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad, or FSARS for short, is one that registers fear and resentment on the minds of many young people across Nigeria. That arm of the Nigerian police force is always in the news and mostly for the wrong reasons. For the obtained time, Nigerians are voicing their anger against the extrajudicial killings and injustices by men of the FSARS, or SARS, that's what they are called sometimes, on young people who are usually wrongly labeled and judged based on their appearances. This time, the protests have gone beyond the mere social media rants now, as hundreds of demonstrators, including celebrities, have taken to the streets in various parts of the country with the hashtag #EndSARS to call for either the outright ban of SARS or the reformation of the police unit. Again, like previous times, following outrage from the activities now of the officers, the Inspector General of Police has banned the personnel of the FSARS and other tactical squad of the force from routine patrols as well as stop and search duties, checkpoints, mounting of roadblocks, traffic checks, among others. But it seems this is simply not enough for many as the protests are increasing by the day. Joining me now to discuss this further is Frank Tietie, who is a lawyer and human rights activist. He joins us from Abuja. Mr. Tietie, thank you very much for joining us on the program. First off, let me ask you this direct question. Would you want to see SARS banned completely, as in shut down SARS completely, or you want to see that unit of the police force now reformed?
For a very long time, SARS has been unnecessary. We have a police force that is supposed to be equipped to tackle crime, prevention of crime, and also carry out investigations where crimes have been committed to the extent of bringing criminals to justice. So why do we keep proliferating, unnecessarily for that matter, the special squads from the police, which have contributed to...
But they are also policemen anyway. So
they are policemen, so there is no need to have a distinction in the sense of having a special anti-robbery squad, which has outlived its existence when it was established by the military. It didn't need to continue to exist. We should have a police force that is well equipped to tackle and discharge its responsibilities pursuant to the Police Act and in expectation to all other law enforcement laws.
But I have to ask you this. Do you think the problem is actually SARS or FSARS or the character and attitude of the Nigerian policeman? Because, look, these SARS personnel we're talking about are actually members of the police. So are we talking, do you think the problem is with SARS itself, that's that unit, or the problem is with the character and attitude of the Nigerian police that needs to change?
Definitely, the Nigerian police needs reformation, but there's something very uncanny about SARS. SARS was a creation specifically to unleash terror on the citizenry, in the sense that, one problem creates another. So there was a problem of armed robbery, and then the people were already terrorized. But to continue to terrorize the people, to continue to drive in fear in the people, SARS was created. And I can tell you, SARS was not only the creation by the police force or by the government, the successive government. SARS was partly created by the people, because our people have a sense of, thriving and harboring brutality as a means of getting at perceived enemies. So most of those times, most of those cases where SARS has unleashed terror, brutality, and torture on the citizenry, even death, especially death on the citizenry, is as a result of one citizen or the other making a complaint, ensuring that SARS unleashes its evil form of brutality on their enemies. SARS mostly in those cases were used as debt collectors. So it is not about armed robbery anymore, but rather having a brutal police squad for the purpose of unleashing terror against those who can pay for their services. And that's what the reports have been. Amnesty International hasn't been quiet about this. Over the last 5 years, there have been several reports with regards to the extrajudicial killings unleashed by members of SARS. Nothing has been done. It is fact is stock in trade. SARS earns a good reputation for itself by being brutal so that it can continue to sell itself to those who can pay
but
for
this
its
is the point. This is the point. You talk about extrajudicial killings. Even the police, the conventional police has also been accused of extrajudicial killings. The military itself too has been accused. So don't you think, rather than say ban SARS completely or end SARS if you like, that what you need to do is to reform the unit, and not just reform that unit, but reform the character of the average Nigerian policeman so that he begins to think differently. That what you need at this point is, if you like, a complete value reorientation and not to end it. Because we can't deny the fact that SARS also has actually been effective in tackling some of these violent crimes we see in our society.
We've seen a balkanization of the Nigeria police force over the years. You break it off, you break off various units out of it. SARS especially, which is unnecessary. Why do you need a special anti-robbery squad when you have a police force? What does a police force do in the first place? So there is no basis to having SARS, especially when there has been an outcry against it. We have the Ojukwu-led, the presidential committee led by Tony Ojukwu, the executive secretary of the National Human Rights Commission, outrightly recommending to the president that their SARS is unnecessary. You don't need it because of the chronicle of extreme cases of extrajudicial killing, torture, and human rights violations by it. You don't need that kind of group. You don't need that kind of body. You don't even consider a reformation. What you need is, as you have rightly said, it's a regime where the police force, it sees itself as a law enforcer. It enforces the standards that have been created by the Police Act and by the Administration of Criminal Justice. And to see
you see, part of the reason. Now, sorry to interject, but part of the reasons I'm actually asking this question is because, look, if you end SARS now, you're not going to sack the men who work in SARS. You only end SARS in name. So these men would have to go back to, if you like, the conventional police unit. And the truth is that even in other places too, in other countries, we've seen this even in the West, where you have different police units. For instance, I know that in the UK, the police unit that deals with violent crime is different from the conventional policeman you see walking on the road. I mean, those ones are allowed to carry weapons and all of that. But what I'm saying is, look, you end SARS now. You're not dismissing the policemen who work in the SARS. So it's actually the attitude. You're going to take them back into the conventional police force. They'll carry out conventional policing duties. But the attitude, would you have changed that?
It is not so easy. SARS has earned itself a very terrible reputation, even among the police. And that reputation is also enjoyed by those persons who are part of that particular department. Let me tell you something. The conventional police will always have departments, gender departments, departments for other, even the mechanical departments. There are various departments, definitely, as you should be in the police. But SARS, as it is, enjoyed a very strange kind of reputation that its members would want to continue to see themselves as those persons who are in a special class. They do not answer to the conventional standards of the police. So definitely they would have to be, SARS has not only to be disbanded. When they go back to the conventional police system, there must it doesn't end there. There must be this form of investigation to the activities of SARS in the last 10 years, with the aim of bringing to book those persons who have carried out human rights violations to the point of violating the fundamental right to life. So it does not only end in disbanding SARS, however, it should go further in investigating and bringing to book those particular policemen. We want to see punishments of police officers who have violated police codes, police standards, human rights standards. And so when they go back to the conventional police system, we will expect that they should also face the criminal justice system.
All
These
right.
impunities are what has...
I really appreciate your point. And you made a very valid point. The truth is that whatever the SARS has become today, we are partly to blame as civilians too. Because as you said, you have a disagreement with a fellow civilian, and then you use SARS to threaten the person. And that way, when you do that, you begin to create this impression in the mind of the SARS operatives too, that they are supernatural force and that they are extra powerful and all of that. So the citizens too are to blame for what these SARS officials have become, just as you've said. But the issue is that ending SARS would just be ending the name, but I don't think it changes the character of the Nigerian policeman, which is the most fundamental thing, and that's one area that we really need to really work at, to do something about.
It is not only ending SARS, it's to bring in those who operated SARS to book, and then empower the ordinary Nigerian policeman, give him constant training on human rights standards, and then let the policeman understand that he exists to enforce Nigeria's laws and not to protect the one big man or the other who pays for his services in order to oppress one ordinary Nigerian who doesn't have such kind of privilege or influence. SARS needs to be ended today. It has earned a bad reputation for the Nigerian police. It also earned a very bad reputation for Nigeria.
All right, Frank Tietie, thank you very much for your time and for your contributions.
My pleasure.
Yeah, all right, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. On DEJI360, we don't just ask the questions. What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it? We seek answers.
Constitution is constituent. Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action. People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dollars that call themselves governors in this country. I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly. God forbid that I go to join that
DEJI360, providing clarity to issues.